Welcome back, Bears Nation podcast. Myself, Jake Hassan, joined as always by Kevin Lapka to bring you a preview of the Bears versus the Eagles after the Bears bye week, which really was like our bye week. Took a little break, hit the little refresh button, and we're back. And we are back to preview the Bears, talk about the Bears for this final stretch of the season before we get into draft season, even though we've kind of already been there for a couple of weeks. But I digress. Kevin Lapka, welcome back. Good to see you.
Let's go. We are back. It's going to be tough, man, these last 4 weeks, getting ourselves to get excited for these games. It's going to be hard, but we'll try our best. And I tweeted this out a couple of days ago. I said I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Bears at least keep a couple of these games that they have against good teams in December close and maybe even pull them out for a win. For a couple of weeks, the NFL was like, not like the NFL earlier this year was like super weird, right? A lot of crazy things were happening, crazy upsets, just weird things going on in the NFL. Then it kind of regressed back to the mean the past couple of weeks. You didn't see a lot of upsets. You didn't see a lot of weird things happening. It was like, okay, the teams that are supposed to be winning are winning. Everything's back to normal. And then last week, it kind of all got jumbled up again, right? You saw the Texans put up a close fight with the Cowboys. You saw Baker Mayfield do what he did with the Rams off of 2 days of knowledge with the playbook. You saw Brock Purdy destroy Tom Brady. You saw the Seahawks or the Panthers beat the Seahawks. So things are weird again in the NFL. I don't know how weird they'll get on Sunday at Soldier Field, but you never know. You never know. That's how I'll start it.
Well, I mean, you pair Baker with Sean McVay, and good things were probably going to happen regardless. Brock Purdy, I mean, maybe he's good. Maybe San Francisco is just their system with all their weapons, and maybe you and I can sit in there and be good. I don't know. And Tampa Bay is also just kind of stinky. But we do get to talk about Justin Fields once again this week. Of course, the next 4 weeks will be the same as they have been all season. What are we going to see from Justin Fields? What does his development look like? How much does he raise the ceiling of the Bears heading into 2023? And that's what we're going to find out, because you get stiff competition. You get the Eagles, obviously, this week. Possibly the best team in the league, the best record in the league, undoubtedly, mathematically. Possibly the coach of the year, possibly the MVP. Then after that, you get another MVP candidate with Josh Allen and another team that was long considered the Super Bowl favorite heading into this year and for a big part of this year as well. And then you get the Lions, who are suddenly very good and playing really well. And then you get the Vikings, who obviously have a lot of offensive firepower. So the next 4 weeks to end the season are going to tell us a lot about Justin Fields. And we saw what happened after the mini-bye. After the Commanders game, when you had that Thursday night going into the Monday night game, and we saw how things changed, how they immediately, everything for the Bears on offense clicked. And it led to the acquisition of Chase Claypool, which obviously hasn't lived up to expectations, but it led to an aggressive move. It led to all of us being like, oh yeah, Justin Fields is the guy. Don't have to worry about it. Oh, it's the reason that we are not right now talking about, oh, you're in the second overall pick and you don't have to talk about a quarterback. So where we're at right now, because you have your guy. So now, coming off of the bye, Matt Eberflus is like, oh yeah, we got some new stuff. That's interesting and that's exciting. And I'm interested to see what happens, because you have this big matchup, and obviously, Kevin, I mean, you were one of the people that were also on this train of comparing Justin Fields to Jalen Hurts and that progression and how they both came out. Now, obviously, the draft position wasn't the same. The hype coming out of college wasn't the same, but the same general makeup and the same kind of path was generally had. Run first quarterback, super athletic, then made a big jump. And Jalen Hurts obviously has made an even bigger jump this year, but same similar-ish profile. And kind of what we were saying was, we hope that Justin Fields can end up like Jalen Hurts. I still think that's the goal, because Jalen Hurts might win the MVP this year and Justin Fields is still ascending. And we hope that he can be that type of player, that type of quarterback eventually. But point being, this is going to tell you a lot. This is going to be a game where hopefully it's going to be a lot of points scored by the Philadelphia Eagles, because the Bears cannot stop anybody. They can't stop the run for sure, because the defensive line is basically non-existent. Jalen Carter, please get here soon. But other than that, I mean, they can pass the ball. A.J. Brown is obviously a monster. Getting Jaquan Brisker, of course, is a huge boost to that. He comes back from concussion and helps you shore up that defensive backfield. But regardless, the Bears defense is not good. And there's going to be a lot of points scored by the Philadelphia offense. It's, can you keep up? Can you keep these promises of, yeah, we worked on some things. We have even more to offer you now, because you went into the bye feeling really good about Justin Fields. And so it's, show us what else you got. Show us what else you have to offer us. keep us interested, keep us excited, and make Kevin Lapka's coin flip tweet seem not so ridiculous.
Hey now. I think it's so you brought up Bears Pats, right? Or that mini bye that they had coming off the Commanders game, and you saw them, fix things offensively before that game. The interesting thing now is, you get an extra 3 days, you get the full bye, you get 14 days. There's not much to fix offensively, right? There's
Sure.
not much that needs to be solved. Like everything that needed to be solved was pretty much solved in that period between the Pats game and between like the Packers game. Like that was pretty much solved. Like you saw in the last game, you saw the Bears be aggressive in the beginning and then kind of shy away from it, right? Which was a question of whether Luke Getsy was in on the tank, which was a question of, whether they're trying to sell the game or not. But I didn't think anything was broken offensively. Like I didn't think that things need to be fixed. Now, here's where I think the benefit of the bye comes in is defensively, right? Not only do you get healthier, you get Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon back. That is huge to a secondary. There was starting practice squad guys last week, guys like Josh Blackwell, and those guys played well to their credit. They for being thrust into the role that they were thrust into,
as well as could be
well.
Expected.
Right, which is also an indictment on the coaching staff. There are positive things to say about the coaching staff and development for those guys who are coming off the practice squad, have a couple of days to prepare and play a good team, the next day. So what I want to see coming off the bye is what adjustments you can make now defensively, because since you've traded Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, you haven't seen anything. And yes, part of it is because you're not talented enough to even stop anyone, whether it is a team as good as the Eagles offensively or a team as bad as the Green Bay Packers had been before we had played them, right? But there are things that you can do. They've been dialing up blitzes. The blitzes haven't been getting home. Go back to maybe a couple corner blitzes, a couple of safety blitzes. You had a lot of success doing that with Jaquan Brisker earlier in the season. You remember the Patriots game where he had a couple sacks, had a couple big time plays in the backfield on Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. That kind of sticks out. You got to find a way to do something different defensively. There's got to be, you went back to the well that we had gone back to the entire year, was just try something, right? Just try something new. You have nothing to lose, right? You're 3-10. You're looking for a top 3 draft pick. You have nothing to lose. Try something. You're playing the best team in the league record-wise. I think the Chiefs are the best team in the league still, but as it stands, they're 12-1, best team in the league. You got to do something to try and stop them, because if you don't try anything and you do the same old stuff you've been doing the past 3 weeks, they're going to drop 40 on you. They just will. I mean, it's easy for them. It's so easy for that offense with how good they are and how good that offensive line is to drop 40 on you, especially if you can't get pressure. So you want to see these guys like Dominique Robinson step up again. See Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker step up again. Like, some guys got to be existent on that defense. Jack Sanborn continue to play well. But, for me, as far as what I'm looking for, when we get to that point now where we're at, where, okay, what are the takeaways you're looking for next year? All the questions have been answered for me offensively. I don't need to see anything more. Do I want to see more? Absolutely. I want to see them continue to put up 30 points a game. But will I be concerned if they don't? No. I know what this offense is capable of. I know what the quarterback is capable of, given the right, pieces and tools going into 2023. The defense, on the other hand, you don't know. And I want to, and you might not know a lot about Alan Williams either. It's hard to, it's hard to tell because they're so bad talent-wise on that unit. But show me something. Show me a little something. Get me a little excited about what this defense can do carrying into 2023.
Do you give Alan Williams another shot next? Like, if you are Kevin Lapka, GM of the Bears, are you giving Alan Williams another shot next year with presumably more talent?
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, you remember the first couple of weeks of the season when the offense was terrible and the defense was really good. What was the narrative? It was like, all we got is a defense. Once again, the Chicago Bears, it's like the 80s. All we got is a defense, and we got an abysmal offense. So, what do you want the guy to do when you trade your play caller on defense and Roquan Smith, the captain of that defense? I don't think trading Robert Quinn moved the needle at all, honestly, in a negative way for the Chicago Bears. But you know what I mean? It's just too hard I think it's too hard to evaluate, in my opinion. But, because, what were you going to do? Are you really, how would you justify it? How would you justify moving on?
So that's the thing. I mean, we're sitting here you got nothing. I think you have to look at individual performances. Look at what Jack Sanborn has so far become. Obviously, he can fall off a cliff this week and return to just being a backup type of player. Or he continues to ascend and continues to prove that he deserves a starting spot in the NFL. That's credit to Alan Williams. Jaquan Brisker's continued ascension as to one of the better or all-around safeties in the league. Credit to Alan Williams and his coaching staff for some of that. The defensive line, you just have no talent. You got nothing. Now, on the flip side of that, Kyler Gordon and his issues, kind of, that is a little bit on Alan Williams a little bit. The lack of pass rush is still a little bit like the pass rush. I know you don't have a lot of talent, but it's been non-existent. Like you got to change some. Eventually, there's got to be second. So I agree. I think you give him next year once you add Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, and then presumably more people in free agency as well, and go from there. But yeah, I mean, show some kind of signs of life. Like you said, the offense, not worried about it. Obviously, we hope they continue to play well and at a high level. We could hope that Justin Fields continues to make his ascension into that top tier of NFL quarterbacks. But the defense now has to show some signs of life, because if we go into the off season, where, okay, the offenses looks like they're figuring out, have a couple of tweaks, gripes, whatever, with the offensive line or the wide receivers, what have you, but the defense is a mess, that's not going to have you really riled up, fired up for next season if one side of the ball is good and set and the other side is just in shambles. Like, show me something, even if it is just individualistic performances, even if it is just Jack Sanborn continuing to be all over the field, even if it's just Jaquan Brisker maybe having a couple more takeaways, give me something where I'm like, okay, you can build off that. And if you add a Jalen Carter or Will Anderson and another player or two, then you can at least be average, and then we'll go from there.
Right, and I think what you're right about for the most part is you don't know, like, tell me which players are guaranteed to be on this team defensively next year. I mean, obviously, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, Jack Sanborn, I'd probably put on that list. Dominique Robinson. Who else? Who else is a lock to be on that defense next year? I mean, I take a look at the depth chart again, see if there's anyone I'm really missing. Justin Jones, is he on a 2-year deal? I want to say Justin Jones.
Yes.
So Justin Jones will be here, which is, I think Justin Jones is fine to be in there. I don't think they'll cut him. Nicholas Morrow, I believe, is on a 1-year deal. It's like they signed so many guys 1-year deals, I almost forgot. So I don't think he'll be around. I wouldn't mind if they re-signed him, but Jalen Johnson, that's the name I forgot. Yep. Jalen Johnson, right? So for sure, I would go 1 Kyler Gordon, 2 Jaquan Brisker, 3 Jalen Johnson, 4 Jack Sanborn, 5 Dominique Robinson, and 6 Justin Jones. So that's only 6 stars on defense that you think for sure are going to be here next year. And Eddie Jackson, 7, right? So
are we sure Eddie Jackson's going to be around still?
Yeah, you're 100% sure. You're 100% sure.
He came out the gate hot, and we were all like, oh, Eddie Jackson's back. Hasn't really done much since then. And we always say on this show, like, if you don't hear their name, that's just as good, if not better, than hearing the name a lot on game days. But I think we may have, because I think there's an out point in his contract after this year. Maybe they just try to rework it. Maybe they try to be like, hey, maybe we can do something here. But I don't know. Ryan Poles might say, you know what? You're good, but you're not this type of money good. It's a thing that could happen.
Well, you're right, because that contract reset the market when he was signed, right? I believe it was him, and then like shortly after, Budda Baker reset it after that. He's getting 14. I think he's getting like $14 million a year. I'll take a look at the contract right now. His cap hits $15 million this year. I don't see an out on spot rack right now. But yeah, I think, look, I don't think you'll get rid of him, right? I don't think you'll trade him. I know you obviously won't cut him. Cutting him doesn't do you anything from a cap standpoint. I don't think. You probably have to eat way too much of that. And you might find a trade partner for him. I don't know. But I think what you do in that situation is say, hey, Eddie, you know that you haven't lived up to this contract since signing in 2020. These guys aren't stupid. We're going to ask you to restructure the contract, right? We're going to restructure it a little bit. We're going to save. And if you restructure contracts in the right way, you can save like $4 to $5 million. I mean, I can't remember the most recent time the Bears have done it. Didn't they do it with like Khalil Mack? Did they ever do it with Mack?
They did. They did it with Mack. They did it with Leno. They did it with, but I think they did it with Whitehair. And the thing is, the cautionary tale there is, though, you can't do it too much. Like, if you're Ryan Poles, you can't fall into this habit of kicking the can down the road, because then you end up in the position you were for this season. So if you do it for one guy, cool. But, don't start doing it for, and granted, not that there's a lot of people on this roster that have contracts to be restructured. Like you just said, most of these guys are on 1 or 2 year deals, but it's just it's a dangerous precedent to set as we've seen in the past. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The defense is just absolutely atrocious. All right, let's talk some more about Justin Fields because that's what all anybody cares about at this point either. How are you approaching this game as far as evaluating Justin Fields versus Jalen Hurts? Like, are you expecting him? Because we know, and you've been a big proponent of this, that Justin Fields is the ultimate competitor. He wants to go out there, and we've seen it, and we've talked about it when he faces guys from his draft class: Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. And we also we talked about it a lot. So with a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is a front runner for the MVP, do we expect Justin Fields? And here's where my kind of worry is: don't want him to be pressing. Don't want him to come into this game and be like, all right, the MVP is on the other side. I got to keep up with him. Play your game. Do what comes naturally to you. Take what they give you. Don't try to be like, I got to keep up with that guy. Because A, your team around you is not nearly as good. And B, he's just farther ahead of you in his progression right now. Like, he's got, 2 years? A year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an extra year on Justin Fields in the league as it is. So how do you approach this game as far as evaluating Justin Fields and what you are looking for in this Justin versus Jalen matchup?
Well, I think takeaway, I think at the end of the day, at 3:00 on Sunday, the takeaway for Bears fans is going to be, Justin Fields is going to have played just as well as Jalen Hurts in that game. And the Bears could have won that game, could have even played better if they had a guy like A.J. Brown. Like, I think that's going to be the takeaway for Bears fans. Because, again, this is the comparison that we've made, over and over and over. Is, get him the A.J. Brown, get him this guy. And it's going to be evident for Bears fans to see that at Soldier Field on Sunday and see the impact of that on a defense and impact on that of that for a quarterback. But what I'm looking for Justin Fields, you're right. Don't press it, don't do too much. But I've always felt like Justin isn't really a guy who does too much, right? Like, that's not a character trait of his when I see him take the field, which is typically not the case for guys who, are coming out, who had a lot of, success in college, who know what they're capable of, but haven't lived up to it to that point, right? Like that, you're right. They push and they press and they do too much and it leads to mistakes and it leads to errors. Justin's always been a guy who's been comfortable in the moment. He's been calm in the moment, regardless of who's on the other side of the field, whether it's a great defense or whether it's a guy that he knows he wants to be better than at some point. I don't think that he is going to get to a point where he's like, oh, we got to go get you. We got to go down the field, man. We go 50-yard plays. We got to attack. I got to prove something. He has nothing to prove to Jalen Hurts. He has nothing to prove to them. But I fully expect, and this is the way it's going to be for every game the Chicago Bears play against an opponent, regardless of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's capable of outplaying the other quarterback any given day. Any given of all teams in the league, aside from the Kansas City Chiefs, just because people know how I feel about Patrick Mahomes, he's capable of outperforming the other QB on the other side of the field. And I would not be totally surprised if the Eagles win this game by more than 2 touchdowns, but you're walking away from it saying, Justin Fields outplayed Jalen Hurts, but there was just nothing the Bears could do defensively to stop the Eagles offense, right? But, as an overall day, Justin did more for his team. Justin put the team on his back more than Jalen Hurts did, right? With doing more with less. And those are the takeaways. So, these moments are significant, and Bears fans should know they're significant because we always point back to them. We always point back to moments like this and say, well, what if he outplayed Jalen Hurts? You're going to go into the offseason saying, dude, he outplayed Jalen Hurts. He outplayed Tua Tagovailoa. I got to go down the schedule and see the guys that he's outplayed this year. No, he doesn't stink. I mean, past couple weeks, it has been bad. Don't get me wrong about that. He outplayed Aaron Rodgers, and without a doubt, he threw a couple of interceptions, but he outplayed him. He didn't play against the Jets, outplayed Marcus Mariota, outplayed Jared Goff. Like, I know we're not talking about elite quarterbacks here. Outplayed Mac Jones.
Jared Goff might win comeback player of the year.
Yeah, okay. Congratulations, one comeback player of the year. Outplayed Trey Lance.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. But you look in pretty much all of these games, in pretty much every single game, except for maybe the Commanders game and maybe the Giants game, he's outplayed the opposing quarterback. And that's what you're looking for. And I think the approach is, look, stick to what you're doing, right? Take the shots down the field, but this is the Eagles defense that, as good as they are defensively, aren't as good at defending the run, right? They're 24th actually in opponent yards per rush, and quarterbacks have had a little bit of success rushing against them. They haven't faced a lot of good rushing quarterbacks, but they faced the Arizona Cardinals earlier in the year. Kyler Murray rushed like 4 times for 42 yards, 10 yards per carry. I think that's going to continue to be the formula. And there's going to be people who are upset about it, Jake. There's going to be people who are upset about it and saying, well, end of the year is coming by. He's still dealing with the AC joint injury. Why are we continuing to run and continue to run and run and run and run? But that's his game, man. Like, get used to it. Get used to it. Like, that's not going away. That's not going away in 2023. So
we don't want it to. I mean, does anyone really want it to?
No, yes, people want it to. Jake, a ton of fans want it to, because all they know is passing quarterbacks and 300-yard passers, and that's all they care about. But, like, will they rush a little bit less next year if they have a better offensive line and better playmakers to provide for the passing offense? 100%, but it's still going to be extremely prevalent. So Bears fans better just get used to it, because it ain't going away, especially for the Final Four games when you have the offensive personnel that you have and you don't have a choice if you want to score 30 points and keep up with the Philadelphia Eagles and keep up with this defense. Like, they have a great secondary. They have a great defensive front. You are not going to be able to sit in the pocket against this team. You're not going to be able to. There's no chance you're sitting in the pocket. There's no chance Justin Fields is throwing for 250-plus yards in this game, in my opinion. If they get it done, it's because he throws for like 230, he rushes for 100, and he scores 4 touchdowns, with 2 with his legs, right? Like, that's what we know. So that, to me, is the approach. You don't need to get cute, right? Now is not the time to get cute, in my opinion, against this team.
And I was one of those people that was like, listen, if that injury is bugging him, running is maybe something that's like, might want to shy away from it for a little bit. He doesn't have an injury designation. He missed practice today with an illness, and Matt was like, no, he's going to play. He doesn't have an injury designation. Apparently, whatever witchcraft or spells or whatever's going on, it just isn't as bad as we originally thought it was going to be. We were on this show saying he's going to be out. He's going to be getting surgery after the season. Oh, God, the sky is falling. And here we are, no injury designation, played the week before the bye, has now had the bye to continue getting treatment on that injury if it is bugging him at all, which we've seen no reason to believe it is. So while, yes, I am one of those people that is pounding the table to see Justin Fields develop as a passer, I think we all are. And the Green Bay game was a huge step in the right direction. And we were on this show and the reaction show being like, there were some times where he could have run, where he usually would run, and he stopped and he delivered a good throw. That was great. Would still love to see that. I'm not saying just run. Don't want to see Justin Fields just running all the time, but you could do both. And with this Eagles secondary, which has a bunch of takeaways as it is this season, if you got to run. Even 100%. If Jalen Hurts is tossing the ball all over your secondary, which he might because the secondary stinks, like, if you have to get your production from running, I'm fine with that. That's fine. Like, the problem is coming off the bye. Like, we're saying, we want to see some improvement. We want to see the tweaks that you're talking about. They're kind of hyping up the offense. You might not be able to see it because you're not playing the Commanders. You're not playing the Texans. You're not playing bad teams. You're playing a good team. You're playing a Super Bowl contender. They might just boat race you. And that is something that isn't totally unexpected. If the Eagles come out there and they just pound you, you throw your hands up. That's a team that's probably going to the Super Bowl, at least. Or if nothing less, the NFC Championship game. And you just kind of say, all right, well, let's see what Justin did. And if he played decent, even if most of that is running and he didn't throw a lot, then I'll take it. Like, you have to take these things in context over the next 4 weeks. That's why I started this episode by saying, over the next 4 weeks, we have to consider who you're playing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's off the bye, and generally you expect teams to kind of take a jump, except if it's a Matt Nagy team and then you come out flat and you just look like shit. But otherwise, most teams coming off the bye look a little bit better because they're fresher and they've worked on some things and da-da-da-da-da. But not every team coming off the bye plays the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, you got a bad draw there. It just kind of, that's how it happened. And you take it and you do your best. And if you get jackhammered, then oh well. I don't think that's an indictment on the team or the coaching staff, because people in this fan base are like, oh God, coming off the bye, and that's how you come out, and that's the performance you put out. Oh my God, the sky is falling. Da 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 da. You're playing the goddamn Eagles. It might not go well.
It might not. And something you just said popped in my mind, right? When we're at this phase of the year where, again, we hit on it multiple times. You're at the discovery phase is what I'll call it, right? You're looking for, signs and things to take away that you can carry into the next 6 months of what we're going to talk about until the next season, right? This guy's good. They do this well. They do that not very well, right? And the thing that popped in my mind when you talked about, well, how are they going to come out off the bye is I haven't even considered once this year under Matt Eberflus that this team has come out flat, that this team has showed a lack of effort. I have not. I can't. There's maybe been a couple instances. But I was there, so it was harder for me to tell since I was in the stadium. But, well, if we count that one, aside from that, I can't think of many instances, many games where you felt because you could feel it. Like fans know, like everyone knows, you can feel it. You see it. You can easily tell when a team's coming out flat. And it was every single game at some point in the Matt Nagy era in the past, in the years after 2018. It was either you're coming out flat at the start or you're coming out flat after the second half. I haven't seen that with Matt Eberflus, right? So now when we talk about discovery, we talk about things to take away. Yes, do the last 4 games mean much? No, they don't. They don't. But to the players, they do. To the guys in the locker room, they do. Like, you can argue all you want about Luke Getsy calling plays and selling the game and being in on the bit to lose and all that. But you haven't seen that from the players. And that's what matters more. That's what matters more is these guys are putting their heart and soul into this game, whether they're down 48-0 or up 48-0. It doesn't matter. Like, and that's a quality when you think about the better teams in the league, when you think about building something and you think about building a foundation for a franchise that you believe has the potential to win the Super Bowl between probably now or next year, 2023 and like 2028, then that's going to be the thing that you're going to go back to. If they ever get to that point, is this is a team that plays with effort. This is a team that plays hard. So that's the thing to look for. That is the thing that every single fan should be looking for, just as much as, how Justin Fields plays, just as much as how the individuals on defense play is this team continuing to come out with effort? And are they continuing to play hard? Because you watch teams who are, take the Carolina Panthers last week, right? I'm not saying they're a great organization, great foundation. That's a team that has absolutely nothing to play for. It came out, played super hard, and resulted in a win.
I don't know about that. They're in the playoff race just because of that division.
If they win out, they clinch their division, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, they're a game back for the division lead, something like that. I think they're a game back.
They might be. I don't even. So the Falcons are 5-8, the Panthers are 5-8, and because the Bucks are 6-7. Jesus, that's disgusting.
Yeah, don't tell me that the Panthers have nothing to play for.
That's true.
They're in the middle of
the
division.
I misspoke.
But
that's ridiculous.
To that point, though, Steve Wilks might be like the worst coach in NFL history, and he's getting that team to play hard. He's getting Sam Darnold to win games. So that kind of
coach of the year.
To your point. Oh boy, no, Dan Campbell might have that locked up.
No, stop it! No, we're not doing this. No, Dan Campbell, stop. They're 6-7. They started 1-6.
If they win out,
they're not winning
they go
out.
9-8. All right, if they lose one more, they go 9-8. They're in the middle of the playoff race too. They
will be in the middle of the playoff race, but he's not winning Coach of the Year. We're not.
If the Lions make the playoffs, this is a different conversation for a different day. But to your point of what you're looking for, the unfortunate part is now shut your ass up, Siri. How about that? Chase Claypool pops up on the injury report today. Did not practice, and Larry Borom continues to be on the injury report. Did not practice. With as many guys as you're missing. Darnell Mooney's out for the year. Khalil Herbert's still out. Offensive line is still in flux. I mean, Riley Reiff did a decent job while Larry Borum's been out, but still, you prefer to have Borum because you also want to see if he's going to stick around for the long term as well, or if he's worth keeping around for the long term, I should say. But the Claypool one, if he doesn't play, Cole Kmet, be ready for a big, Cole Kmet might have 12 catches if Claypool's out. Who else is catching on this? Who else is catching passes? Equinemius St. Brown? Your boy Byron Pringle? Darrington Evans? Who's catching passes here if Claypool doesn't play? And granted, Claypool's been a non-factor anyway, so this might all come to fruition even if Claypool plays. But man, I mean, having the guy that was your week 1 starting right tackle and the guy that you traded for mid-season to kind of give this offense a boost with Darnell Mooney already out and with Khalil Herbert already out, it's not great against a Philly defense that, as you've said, and as we've said, is pretty good. It's not great.
No, it's not. It's not great. And I think it's related to the injury he sustained against the Packers, where, when he went down, I was worried. I was worried that was like some sort of ACL or something. He ended up returning to that game, but now I think he's probably dealing with the lingering, impacts of that from the Packers game. So I don't like, it's too early for me to say he's going to play or not. We don't have enough knowledge about it. I have no idea. But if they don't have him, you're right. Like this again, and this is where we go back to like, don't be mad again if Justin Fields is rushing the ball 15 times. Like who do you want him to throw to? Like I'm not concerned about losing Larry Borom, right? Riley Reiff has been better than him
he's been all right. Yeah, he's been good.
Like I don't. You're not
played well.
The needle is not being moved a lot. I use that phrase a heck of a lot, but it's
the
not
drop off
changing a lot
isn't
for me.
crazy.
The drop off. There you go. That's a better way to put it. The drop off isn't that significant, right? But so here's another thing to look for, right? Again, discovery phase. I'll keep hitting on this for the next 4 weeks. Discovery phase. What are you looking for? What are you trying to take away? Is Dave Montgomery worth the money that he may be asking for in the offseason, right? This is a critical 4-game stretch for him to answer that question. If Ryan Poles has put that question out there to Dave Montgomery and say, hey, bud, you got to show me in these next 4 games why you might be worth the money you're looking for, which we broke it down. I don't know if it was with you or with Kellen. I think it was with you. We broke it down. There's only a handful of running backs who are making over, I think there's only like 8 running backs that are making over $8 million a year. And to justify that Dave Montgomery is worth that money, it's going to take a lot, especially when Khalil Herbert had rushed just as good, if not better than him for a large part of the season. While he's out, which may only be for a couple more weeks, supposed to get designated off IR, at least for the last couple games, he has to prove that he can be that workhorse, that he can be that guy. Because, like, again, the running back class is so, like, the running back free agent market is so deep. It's so deep. And if he really, with the Bears or not, he has to differentiate himself among, that probably tier 2 of guys in the free agent market this year. And at this moment, he's like a tier 3, tier 4. I mean, Dave Montgomery is a great player. But again, we talk about value. And if he's asking for $8 million a year, that value is not there. And I don't know how much 4 games changes anything. Right? Like, even if he goes off for the next 4 games, maybe not change a lot, but we all know recency bias. We all know how it works. We all know it helps, right? He can go into that negotiation room with Ryan Poles and say, well, look at what I did the last 4 games against good defenses too. If he can say that, hey, I put up 100 yards and a touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. I did things against the Buffalo Bills, did things against, the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense is actually terrible. So is the Lions defense. So it's really the Bills and Eagles that he has to do things against to really make a statement. But this is his chance, man. Like he's like, and here's the crazy thing about it, which is unfortunate. This is probably the last 4-game stint of David Montgomery's career where he will be the feature back for a team. Because even if they do go into the next season, even if the Bears go into 2023, re-signing Dave Montgomery on a reasonable contract, he's not the number one. He's not the solidified number one. It's definitely at least a 60-40 backfield with Khalil Herbert, if not 50-50.
I mean, people were clamoring for Khalil Herbert before he went. Khalil Herbert was averaging 6 yards per carry.
I know.
Like, he was averaging, like, and for Dave Montgomery, like, only has 4 touchdowns this year. Has eclipsed 100 yards, over 100 yards at least just once this year. His yards per carry, I mean, they've been super up and down from week 1, 1.5, then week 2, 8.1, 3.6, 1.6, 4.4, 4.1, 3.5, 2.5, 4.1, 3.9, and then the last 2 weeks, 5.6 and 4.3. So it has been a little bit better. But, and some of that's the offensive line. The offensive line has been in flux. To start the year, they were terrible, obviously, and then they got better as the year progressed. But, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if the Bears, and it seems like this is the case, because it seems like David Montgomery's involvement as of the last couple of weeks has become more necessity than, want to. Because Khalil Herbert was getting a lot of run. He was getting a lot of traction. And it looked like the front office, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, was like, all right, this guy's in his second year. You got, 2 more years of him on his rookie contract. He might be the guy. And honestly, I know people like David Montgomery, and I know that he is a fan favorite. And yes, he's a good player, like you said. But Khalil Herbert, if you have to allocate that money somewhere else to make the offensive better, and you like Khalil Herbert and you think he's a good player, I will happily wave goodbye to David Montgomery. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for being a spot of light in all of the darkness of the last couple of years. But you know what? Au revoir. I appreciate you. Wish you the best of luck. Like, it's just, and that's the NFL. The NFL is a business. And how much do we say on this show? running backs are a dime a dozen. Not everybody is like an awesome, explosive running back. I would much rather go with Khalil Herbert so that you can pay a top-tier offensive lineman. We talked about Orlando Brown. I would much rather you let David Montgomery walk so you can pay him than keep David Montgomery for sentimental reasons. And Ryan Poles, to his credit, does not strike me as the guy that's like going to keep players for sentimental reasons. That does not strike me as the type of guy, type of manager that he is. So, which is great, obviously, because how often did we complain about that in previous years, really since we've been alive, like with most things with the Bears. So I think I have faith, actually, that Ryan Poles will make the right decision when it comes to that. But, I mean, I'm still rooting for David Montgomery, mostly because he might be your only weapon on the offense the next 4 weeks. But, you know, to answer the question, if you go with Khalil Herbert next year, fine. Fine by me.
It's the way it should be. Look, you know, because again, the problem is this, right? Like, I would do anything to get Tony Pollard on the Chicago Bears. Tony Pollard is a top 5 running back in the NFL, in my opinion. Like, he's
also a receiving threat. He's dynamic.
Exactly. He's and I love him because he's on my fantasy team and he is just doing work for me on my fantasy team. But he is really freaking good. Problem is, Dallas Cowboys are probably going to resign him. I mean, they're probably going to re-sign him. They know Zeke is on his way out in a couple of years. Tony Pollard will be the future back for the next 4 years. Like, I don't think they want to lose him. They know how good he is, but at the same time, they just give the ball to Zeke Elliott half the game because they have to.
They're paying him $1 million.
They have to be contractually obligated to give Zeke the ball at least. They flip it every drive. It's like, have you ever seen that Skip Bayless meme that's like, my turn? It's my turn. Like, that is Zeke Elliott on the sideline after Tony Pollard gets a drive. It's like it's just so stupid, right? I hate that method. But
to the Cowboys' credit, they're making it work. They're a contender in the NFC. Credit to them. They're making it work.
But here's where you're wrong, though, because they're making it work because they just score so many points where it doesn't matter. But it's so obvious for anyone watching that they're a better offense when Tony Pollard's on the field and he runs better. He does more for them. But it's just like they're already up by 4 touchdowns. You're like, well, might as well just give it to Zeke Elliott now. Just cause make him happy. I don't know. And I love Zeke, right? Ohio State guy. Anyway, this isn't a Cowboys nation.
Yeah, this isn't a Cowboys show.
But real quick, the bottom line is this: like, if we're putting the price tag on Dave Montgomery is around $8 million, right? You can't pay that because this team has so many holes to fill that inevitably you would love to get younger players on this team for like 3-year contracts. That's what you're looking for in the offseason. Get some guys 26, 27, 3-year contracts. They're here for the next couple of years of the Super Bowl window. But you're gonna cut so many guys and you have so many holes on this roster. You're gonna be forced to sign the 33-year-old veteran on a 1-year deal for $3 million, for $5 million. You have to fill bodies on this defense. And I believe Ryan Poles, if not anything, is financially smart and is at least understands the value aspect of players in the league. You can question that with how the Chase Claypool thing has played out so far. But aside from that, as far as the contracts that he's dished out, the value has seemed just about right for that. And, you could get 2 players, 2 32-year-olds, 2 30-year-olds on 1-year deals for $4 million instead of paying Dave Montgomery when you have a backfield that can be just as capable, especially when your quarterback is a third running back who's better than both of them. So that's, the main point. But I digress. I'd like to see Dave Montgomery do some things the last 4 weeks. If these are the last 4 weeks that he's a Chicago Bear, all credit to him.
And that was Running Back Talk with Bears Nation Podcast. All right, let's do some bold predictions, whatever we can scrounge up from this shell of a team. I will actually start. I think Justin Fields, I do think this is going to be a rushing game for him. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards again. I just think that he's going to have to run. The secondary of the Eagles isn't going to allow a lot of openings, especially if Claypool doesn't play and you're stuck with Equanimeous St. Brown and Dante Pettis and Byron Pringle, as well as Cole Kmet, who we actually like on the show. But I think Justin Fields is going to have to run a lot. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards again.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was going to be mine. You stole mine because I don't what else am I going to say? Like, what else do you really want me to say? I don't
why don't you go like a Darrington Evans 2-touchdown game or something?
Yeah. No, that's bull.
Why don't you go back to the Velus Jones Jr. well?
No, please. You went to that well more than I did. You went to that well more than I did. 100%. 100. You did. I started it and then I don't know. I that was your thing. I'll do this. I think Dominique Robinson actually makes his presence felt a little bit this week. Do I have reasoning for this? No. I mean, this is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I don't have any reasoning. He's due to at least show up, right? I mean, I think that's the frustrating thing about the young guys on this defensive front when you look at Travis Gibson, who's going to get cut next year most likely, and Dominique Robinson again, who is a fifth, who shouldn't be exceptional, right? We know the development that this was supposed to take, but because of the start that he had, where it was like, holy crap, like he might be ahead of the curve, and he had a really good beginning to the season. Like we've now expected a little bit more because of what he did in the first couple of games. And then Al-Qadim Muhammad, what a horrible signing that was. Oh my God. I mean, that guy is going to get cut. But I think I'll say Dominique Robinson shows up. At least make your presence felt. At least to have the announcers, Joe Davis and Daryl Johnson, say, "Well, look at that Dominique Robinson kid coming off the edge." Like that's all I want to hear. That's all I want to hear is a little bit of something from Dominique Robinson. Just hear his name called once. So that would be my bold prediction. My bold prediction is this: Dominique Robinson's name gets called by the announcers. That's all I got for you. I'm sorry. I have nothing else for you. I don't.
His name gets said by the announcers. That might not even be a positive thing. Like that could easily be he could draw a penalty.
I don't care. Draw a penalty. I want to hear his name.
Roughing the passer on Dominique Robinson.
Oh my God.
All right, I got one more.
Oh, he's okay.
This Bears front does not provide pressure. Jalen Hurts takes care of the football. But that being said, Jalen Hurts has only thrown 3 interceptions this year. His last one was about a month ago on November 14th against Washington. I think Jaquan Brisker comes back and has an interception. I think he gets his second interception of the year. The videos were floating around this week of the sick one he had in New England, obviously. So I think Jaquan Brisker continues to establish himself as one of the upper tier safeties in the league. I think he gets his second interception of the year against Jalen Hurts this week.
There you go. That's a bold prediction. Right. I was going to go to that one too, but I like it.
Well, that's why I go first, because I get first pick. Anyway, all right, let's go to game predictions. The Eagles are favored by 9 points in this game, rightfully so. They're one of the best teams in the league. The Bears are not. It is at Soldier Field. The weather is going to probably be shitty. High of 28. Yikes. Low of 19. That is tough. Talk about bear weather, but coming from Philadelphia, obviously, it's not like they're coming from Miami or from San Francisco. They are familiar with bad weather, so I don't think that'll really have that big of an impact on the Eagles as much as it will, on the entire game. So, and we know how well the Eagles run the ball too. Miles Sanders is a really good running back. They have a great offensive line. So, Eagles favored by 9 in a very, very cold game. I think the Bears loses by at least 2 scores. Talent-wise, that was weird. All right, whatever that was. You just don't have the talent to keep up. As much as we like Justin Fields, as much as we kind of have hope in Luke Getsy, you just talent-wise, coaching-wise, I don't think you can keep up with the Eagles. I think the Bears lose this game something like 45-28. 45-28.
Oh my God.
45-31. You know what? I'll say they go over 30.
That's not even that. That's not even a disgusting score. That's not bad. Part of me, Eagles fans think they're unbeatable. Says Dak. So much Cowboys talk. We got a Dak commentary in the chat. No, the Eagles are beatable. And I had this in my notes. Like the Eagles have had a couple close shaves with teams on the road this year. It's been interesting, especially recently. They lose to the Commanders. Sorry, that was actually home. That game was at home, right? So they beat the Cardinals October 9th by 3 on the road. They just destroyed the Giants on the road, but they barely sneaked past the Colts on the road on November 20th. What's that?
Jeff Saturday.
Well, you're right. And was that Jeff Saturday time? It had to be Jeff Saturday time. Did they lose that? Did the Colts miss an extra point or something? Is that why it was 17-16?
Yeah, so and the Eagles won at the last second. That was the final drive of the game.
Right. So, and we've seen teams like the Houston Texans be close to teams like the Cowboys. I don't know. Things are weird. I do think the Bears actually keep this kind of close. I think they keep it kind of close. I think they keep it under 10. I think they keep it in single digits. I think they lose this game like 34-27. That's what I'll go with. You know, low scoring, that would still hit the over for sure. That would be like 61 on the over. That would have to hit the over.
I imagine so. It is 48.5. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, I actually dubbed the Eagles as frauds for like the first couple weeks of the season because they hadn't beat anyone. They're certainly not frauds at this point. They're obviously a good team.
You and Joe finally aligned on something.
He doesn't think they're frauds now, or he did think they're frauds?
He did. He flipped, but
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the first time, me and Joe aligned on something. But yeah, 34-27. Look, again, you know, the benefit the Bears have here is if Justin Fields is running the ball a lot and they have a little bit of success with Dave Montgomery, you know, the way you keep it, prevent it from a blowout is limit your mistakes and kind of control the time possession in this game. Now, you know, to imagine that they control the time possession that much, but still, you know, get up to 61 total points in the game is probably kind of crazy. But, you know, Justin Fields is a player who doesn't make mistakes 2 weeks in a row. He threw 2 interceptions the last game around against the Packers. I don't think he's going to replicate that this week. I think he's going to play smarter, cleaner football. I don't think he's going to make a mistake that's going to cause, you know, easy points for the opponent. I think it's a close game. I mean, what's the spread on this? Probably like 11.5, 12, 9. Really? Okay. I would take the Bears on the spread on that. You know, at home, bear weather, nice day. Yeah, I don't know. Things are weird again. Things are 100% weird again. And I think would that surprise you if they kept it?
No, because game script might force it to be like if they just run, if both teams run 30 times, then that much might be game script. It could totally go that way. If it's windy and if it's super cold, then because it's a high of 28. If it's 20 and windy, they might just run the ball all day, and it could totally be a low scoring game, 100%.
Exactly. So, and I'll say this: I said to start the show, if they won this game, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I wouldn't be that surprised. I mean, I would be a little bit surprised, but I'm saying it right. I'm saying it now. I could see a path to where that happens. If Justin Fields truly outplays Jalen Hurts,
there's always going to be a path.
Right. There's always going to be a path, but you know, in some situations, the path is more difficult than other situations. Sure. And you know, the cards are kind of stacked against you with the team that you're playing. But I think it's possible. I don't think they're going to win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised what happened. 34-27 Bears, I'll lock it in. And Dak 2-0 in the chat says Fields or Hurts. If I were to take one quarterback for the next 5 years, I'd take Justin Fields. So, sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I need to see more from both. I don't know. I recuse myself from the question.
Fair enough.
I don't answer. Eagles might be looking ahead to the Cowboys, but also you could have said that over the last couple of weeks. They might have their heads on straight here, but not Dak 2-0 in the chat, which is a hilarious name. It's not the first person. You're not the first person to say that. A lot of people have said that. I think it's a lot of Bears fans hoping for it. Not expecting it, though. Expecting the Eagles to win. But that does it. Another edition of Bears Nation podcast after a little bye week. We are back. We will be back on Monday to recap whatever happens in this game. We're both kind of unsure of how this can go, but we'll be back on Monday to break it all down, whether it's a run-heavy game, whether Justin Fields outplays Jalen Hurts, whether it's just a dump trucking by the Eagles. We'll be back, regular schedule, right here on Monday to break it all down and probably yell a lot. So join us for that, and until then, bear down.